Hello, Facebook Live. Good morning, everybody. Almost afternoon. It's 11:50. Long day already for me here. I've been up early, doing a lot of work, running some errands. Had to go out of town, do some errands as well. So that's why I'm on later today. It is almost noon. It's 11:49 on September 13th. And let's see my sound check here. Perfect. Sound is on. Microphone's working. I want to talk about a few things today. Mainly, I want to do a little bit of education on bottled water and how to avoid getting scammed on bottled water, because it's so easy to get scammed, and they kind of make the definitions a little tricky, so we don't really know what we're buying sometimes. So if you're tuning in, just drop a comment, hashtag live if you're tuning in live. Or replay, hashtag replay. On Facebook, we do the live and the replay. On YouTube is always the replay. So just drop a comment where you're tuning in from, this and that. Just let me know you're out there. That'd be awesome. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. So today's Monday the 13th. We are doing a wine dinner tonight. 4 wines in a dish, $29. Tonight's dish is a shrimp crostini. Shrimp and spinach crostini. With 4 wines, and it's $29. The wines we're doing tonight are wines that are not on our list. We got some cool wines that are not on our list, so you can't get a glass, or you can't get a bottle here. They're here, and they might never be on the list. They might not come back. They might not come in at all. But I have some wine here that I really want to share. Some special wine that I want to share tonight. So that is the story tonight. If you're interested in that, 647-3000. If you call right now, Jamie or Courtney will answer the phone because they're right here in the office. So 647-3000 if you're interested in coming tonight. 6:30, 4 dishes and a wine, $29. It is an amazing deal. It's the equivalent of 2 glasses of wine in a dish. And it's going to be, like I said, a shrimp, I guess more of a shrimp bruschetta tonight. Shrimp bruschetta. So really going to be cool. So we tested it out yesterday, and I said, yes, let's do that for tonight. There's an email going out in a few minutes describing all of that. Not the wines, because the wines are a mystery. You'll know what the wines are when you get here, unlike the last wine dinner we did where it was a mystery. But something I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to hand you out a scorecard, so you can take home and judge wines yourself. It's the same scorecard that I used this weekend at the Hudson Valley Wine and Food Festival to judge wines. And congratulations to all of the winners. Again, Glory Farm, an amazing Cabernet Franc. 2 shows in a row they've taken Best of Show. Really just an amazing wine here from the Hudson Valley. I need to go pick up a few more of these cases. Last time I called Doug Gloria right after this happened, and I said I want to buy a couple cases, and he only had a few left, and he sold them to me, so that was awesome. New ownership at Glory Farm now. I imagine that the wine we tasted was started under the ownership of Doug Glory, and finished by the new owner, bottled and everything and finished. So really exciting to see their wines move forward. Glory Farms, they make such great wine. A great place to visit too, in Marlboro. Really great place. I'm going to call the winners personally this week and just congratulate them as being one of the judges and as having a restaurant here locally, because I'd like to serve the wine, and for doing our designated driver service, just so they know who we are, which most of them do know who we are. But it's always good to network, because some of the wineries were not there that submitted wine. So this was in Rhinebeck this last weekend, both days. Hudson Valley Wine and Food Festival. Lots and lots of great wine there. Really good wine, and some not so good wine. When people say, New York doesn't have good wine, you could find plenty of not so good wine at this festival, and you can find plenty of amazing wine at this festival. So people still lump together all that old style wine they used to make. And there was some wine we tasted that were like, gee, I think water has more flavor, literally, and it was a shame. There's a couple wines that are still out there like that, but you know what? Certain people like that, and so it doesn't make it right or wrong. It makes you what you like, and some people flock to these types of wines. So, but there are a very wide variety of wines that are produced in New York. So, do not think that we only have sweet, juicy wines like we used to with Cayuga and Concord and all that kind of stuff. It's changed vastly in the last 20, 30 years. Vastly. So, all right. That being said, tonight's wine dinner I talked about. Anything else I need to talk about, Jamie, before I talk about bottled water? Close tomorrow. Close the next 2 days.
What's our $9.99?
Burgers this week, $9.99. Any of our burgers this week, $9.99. It comes with potato salad and coleslaw on a GMO-free pretzel bun. These Pretzelzilla buns that are amazing. And then we're going to roll into Oktoberfest here pretty soon. I think the 19th Oktoberfest menu starts. So pork schnitzel, spätzle, spätzle, yep, pretzels, bratwurst, all that kind of stuff will be coming onto our menu for Oktoberfest. So that's going to be awesome. Oktoberfest is a great a menu addition for us every year. So I need to get an Oktoberfest beer. So we got to figure that out, an Oktoberfest beer. Maybe we'll call Cody, Jamie, and see if we can get one of his Oktoberfests. Let's see. All right, bottled water. So bottled water is, and I'm not going to get too much in detail on bottled water because it can get in detail. I'm just going to cover a couple key points. Bottled water can come from several different sources, which some people realize, and some people don't and do realize this. But like when you go to buy like Dasani or something, a lot of this bottled water is straight up tap water from a municipality. Sometimes they run it through filtrations, other filtrations, this or that, and then they bottle it as bottled water. And it's very, very inexpensive to make tap water. Very inexpensive to make tap water because you just run your taps and fill the bottles and charge 5,000, do a 5,000% markup. But even the cheaper way to get water is by doing your own well. Doing your own well and pulling water from a ground source, from an aquifer or underneath, from a spring or near a spring. So a lot of water is labeled, bottled water is labeled spring water. Now, in fact, spring water, a lot of stuff that's labeled spring water is not indeed true spring water. There's a loophole in the labeling of spring water. See, Poland Springs says they have spring water. In fact, they have a well that goes down deep, and they go in and they take the water out of the water table, the aquifer underneath. And they're calling it spring water because it's near a spring. And the marketing loophole, this loophole allows them to do that instead of waiting for the water to submerge and be forced up like an artisanal well or an artisanal spring. So the difference between this is, and there's a lot of books out there on water and the energy of water and restructuring of water and molecule clusters, and it can get very in depth. Basically, we serve this ionized water here at the restaurant, which is very small microclustering of water, high pH. And when I say microclustering, I mean 5 to 8 molecules per cluster of water is how the water is structured. When you get water that is from a tap from a municipality, it's typically 15 to 18 molecules per cluster. So clusters are smaller. The smaller clusters will hydrate you better, get into your cells, and permeate better into your body. Same thing if you were to take 2 tea bags and put them into one with a small microclustering or a large microclustering. The tea bags that go into the small microclustered water will actually absorb the tea bag quicker because they're smaller. They can get in quicker. So the same thing happens in your body. So water has these magical properties of being self-ionized, self-charged when it's sitting there coming down a mountain and it's going through the process of touching all the rocks and the charge, the energy that goes through it. It's much different than putting water into a municipality, pumping it out of a well and sticking it and treating it in these tanks and then putting it through your sink wherever you can turn it on. It's a different form of energy in the water and different clustering and different properties. So a lot of bottled water is that indeed, possibly with another filtration process. There's distilled water, which basically is water that has been distilled to remove everything out of it. Distilled water is good for certain things. Some people like it. One of the best things that distilled water is good for is for like running through your coffee, your cappuccino machine, things like that. Any machine that might have lime buildup or have any kind of equipment in there, like our espresso machine, the solenoids get caked up with and doesn't matter what kind of filter we have on the municipality water, it gets these things in there that block them up and clog them, and every 6 months to 9 months we have to replace some parts in the espresso machine because of the municipality and the water, municipal water. Now, we're just switching over to distilled water for that. We have to fill up a container with distilled water and pump it in, and then hopefully that'll stop that. So distilled water is pure, clean of all types of minerals, all that kind of thing. Certain people like that because they know that nothing's in their water. Certain people don't like that because they want the mineral properties. They want some of the properties of natural, high-quality spring water, artisanal spring water. So they want that. So when you're going to buy something like Poland Springs, it's not true spring water. They have that caveat in the marketing where they can put a well in place, pump it out for a fraction, and all you have to do is pay a well fee to the municipality, to the state, or wherever they're at. They pay a well fee, which is a couple $100 a year, and then they can pump as much water as they want. Even though they say they're not allowed to pump as much as they are, they just pump away. And so what happens, water that comes out of a spring, many of us are familiar with natural spring water that's being forced out of the ground. So just like water that's coming off of the mountain, going down the rocks and getting all this energy and going through the rocks and the charge, water that's being forced out of the ground can have the same similar charges and energy that charged water can have, just out of like our ionizing machine or naturally coming down a waterfall. So when water's forced out naturally, it has more of these properties than when you're taking it out of the ground. So people say, "Oh, I have well water. I have great well water." You might have great well water, but if you had a spring that's feeding the same water, it's a different type of energy pushing the water out. So the water has a different charges. Everybody's following this. So when you go and think you're buying spring water from Poland Springs or many of these other companies, I'm picking on Poland Springs right now, and Nestle owns a vast majority of these water companies across the country. So it doesn't matter what brand you're buying. They even own stuff from Italy like Pellegrino, which is the reason we don't buy Pellegrino water. I don't want to give Nestle any money at all. We've never bought Pellegrino. I don't think Nestle deserves our money. And they sure don't in the communities where they're going in and taking all the water away from these people, especially in communities like California. And even in Maine, they've really abused their water rights in Maine. And by putting your own well in, you're marking it up 20,000% this water and charging for it. So it's Poland Springs is probably one of the cheaper waters on the market, but it is not a spring. It is being pumped out of the ground via a well. So that right there. Now there are true spring water brands out there, and there's some really good ones out there. And maybe I'll come back on and do a much more in-depth thing on water and list some good brands and all that kind of stuff. But you have to do some research yourself. One of the best ways to get water is, if you go get water from a spring. The mountain here has several springs that feed water out. If you've ever gone up Smiley Road here in Ellenville, about 2.5 miles up on Smiley Road in the carriage road, there's a pipe that comes out of the ground. There's a pipe that's been installed there. And water keeps flowing out of there throughout the course of the year. And I got to tell you, that is some of the best water I've had. Every time I run on that trail or hike on that trail, I drink that water and I try to bring some back and fill up my water bottle. And there, I think findaspring.com is a website that will help you locate springs throughout the country. Findaspring.com, Daniel Vitalis's project. I believe it's still alive and going. 10 years ago, a decade ago, I know people were using it a lot. Findaspring.com. It just lists springs all over the place. You can go bottle up, and you'll see people from time to time on the sides of roads with these pipes. If they've installed a pipe, as a general rule, if there's a pipe been installed, it typically means that water is very potable. It's drinkable. So there's typically not much to worry about that if there's a pipe coming out of it. I've drank a lot of bad water on the mountain. I've even tried to filter it myself. You go on these all-day runs and hikes, and you run out of water, and you take these filter sticks with you and all these contraptions. And I've tried to filter water that's coming off of streams and everything, and it tastes terrible. It's like you spit it right out right away. But these waters that are coming out of these pipes, typically at some point, they knew it was a viable source, and they put a pipe on it so you could enjoy it. And throughout the Catskills here, you'll see a lot of people filling up these big 5-gallon jugs of water and bringing it back home. So there's a specific reason, health reasons and quality of that water that is very different than you can find through your tap or even through bottled waters. So that is the biggest scam ever. Jennifer saying biggest scam next to the crazy perfect lawn competition in subdivisions. Perfect lawn competition. I'm not familiar with that. All right, folks. That's it. Educate yourself on bottled water, and you are getting what you pay for. You're definitely getting what you pay. There's a big difference in the price of bottled waters and the quality of bottled waters. The quality of water, very, very, very drastically different. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see you soon, and thanks for the support. Jamie will be on later doing her happy hour live at 4 o'clock-ish, and I'm not sure what kind of cocktail she's making today, but she's always looking for suggestions. And I know she's looking for guest bartenders to jump in there with her and help her make something. So if you want to be on camera with her, send her a message. If you have any drink ideas, drop a comment, send her a message. And that's it. All right, folks, have a great day. We'll talk to you later.